Today we talk about funnels. Mark, what's a funnel?
A funnel is, let's say, a workflow that leads customers into, well, ideally into a sale. And so we're going to talk about sales funnels. It's a strategy to guide potential customers through the various stages of the buying process. We have a marketing flow that we teach here in Passion Plus to help our Plus creators achieve revenue success.
Before you do, one thing I want to just add to that is why do you actually need a funnel? And if you look at, let's say, Amazon, right? E-commerce, marketplace, you have billions of products very likely, and you can search for them, you can browse, you can discover, and so on and so forth. If you have a single product and maybe some more offers on the back end, I get it, but let's say one thing that you want to focus people on and want to promote that, then a sales funnel is actually a really good tool because it's like one page with a couple of elements where you can really talk about this particular product or offer, and with that create a convincing narrative why it actually it's good and it makes sense to buy it. And then of course you can then sell more down the road, but it's ultimately a good tool to sell a single thing and to create a brand around whatever you're selling.
With a brand, there always comes many portals where your customers or users can learn about you and what it is you sell, and that's great. The more information about your brand and products that's out there is better, but that can also make it confusing for a lot of users. And some people like things simple. So if I'm looking for a solution to my particular problem, I want to make sure I find the specific product or service that's going to help me with that. And I don't necessarily, as a consumer, want to continuously segment all the different options that one brand provides. So it's a focused way of talking to people, and that in the end will drive sales of your product, is just being focused on what you're talking about. Makes it easier for people to listen. At Passion, we have a couple different components. And I say at Passion because there's like, if you just Google sales funnel, you'll find like 10 different models based from different agencies and things like this. And any of them are valid and good, and you can follow which one you choose. But we teach like a basic approach, and it starts with awareness. So online, when you have a product, you want to attract potential customers and make them aware of that product. And they may already be customers. They may already be following you on social media, but you want to let them know that you're maybe launching a new service or a new product. And so that's the first step, awareness. The second step is consideration. So we engage the audience or the potential customers and get them interested in the service or product. So that's by talking to them about their problems, for instance. And then the third step is a conversation. So we could do that in a couple different ways. I'm going to show you one way that will really help, and I'm going to talk about another way that we also encourage people to do it. But that is honestly to have a live chat with a customer. If you have fewer customers, better than doing anything else. It's super effective. So conversation is number 3. Number 4 is the conversion. So that's taking them from those first 3 steps and helping them with the purchase, or just having them purchase. Maybe they don't need any help, which is the best outcome. And then the last step is community. And community can mean a couple different things, but essentially what we're trying to do is build a loyal customer base who feel like they're advocates and that they have some place to belong. And we want to encourage repeat business. So this community can help sustain your brand and yourselves. And I wouldn't think of it just that way. It's also a way for you to keep improving your service and product and get plenty of feedback. So there's an extra way to level up there. So those are the 5 steps. We go from awareness to consideration, conversation, conversion, and then community, which is essentially the onboarding and the engagement process in the end. So do those 5 steps make sense?
They do. Thank you.
So then, for an example, part of the awareness, you would have a post, perhaps, on social media. It could be an Instagram post, since it's pretty popular. For consideration, that post can be driving people to a webinar, for instance. You put together a webinar on solving some sort of specific problem. And then from that webinar, um, during that webinar, you have a live Q&A. That's the conversation. That's the ability to talk to people directly, right? Answer some questions, maybe even follow up on social media with some of those questions, continue the conversation. And then you have the conversion. So now that you've talked to people, we want to drive them to your new product that you're releasing. And then once they're signed up on that product, we want to encourage them to interact with each other and maybe also have some sort of exclusive reward, like a limited access or something.
So there's awareness, consideration, conversation, conversion, and community. It would be awesome if there would be 5 C's, right, and not 1A and then 4 C's. But I get it. Like it's very clear. And then you're saying, okay, I make a post on Instagram, and then I promote something which is of interest to them. So then they maybe click on the bio link to then join the webinar, or jump on a discovery call or whatever it is. Then a conversation happens in the webinar, in the Q&A section, in the discovery call, in the call itself. Then the conversation happens where the transaction takes place and money is exchanged. And then it goes into the community phase where you deliver value to them.
Yes, tools are my favorite thing to talk about because there's so many options. And I've working with plus customers, plus creators. I've probably dabbled in most tools out there for each of these little steps. So I'll go over. I'll just use my favorite ones, and maybe we can talk about some others if we have questions. Um, but to start, Instagram is one of the best places to generate interest for your brand, and most people already have an Instagram, and it's not as convoluted as something like Facebook. So good place to start. But social media, depending on your industry or your niche, can be different. So LinkedIn, maybe if you're doing a more professional B2B sort of approach. And so these are the awareness tools that you can use. And then there are some other tools that can help you switch from awareness to consideration and conversation. So one for especially for Instagram is Linktree, because Linktree you can link in your bio, and when people click on it, it will give them a list of links that they can click on to go other places. Super helpful if you're doing multiple things at once. If you're doing one specific thing, like launching your first product, for instance, it's better to just have one link to one landing page that works. And a landing page can be made in different services. You can have your own website. So in this case, Passion.io. Perfect. Or if you don't have your own website, but you want a landing page, services like MailChimp, which is the next tool I'll talk about, they offer landing pages for your product. And so you can, it would, the QR code might, or not the QR code, but the link might be something like your MailChimp tag slash product name, for instance. And MailChimp is where we can automate a lot of the communications for this journey, which is super helpful. And you can also use those automations for people who fall out of the sales funnel, but you want to keep them in your marketing ecosystem, if you will. So MailChimp is one of my favorite ones. It's easy to use. Other alternatives would be ClickFunnels. That's kind of the OG. ConvertKit. That's another good one that a lot of creators tend to use. And then a very important tool to help set up calls, for instance, would be Calendly. This is one of the best tools when you want to schedule a discovery call or kickoff call with one of your new customers or your users. So these are some of the tools that we can use. Oh, and then, of course, should I forget, Zapier is one of the best tools to use because you can connect all of these other platforms that you may be using and move data around between them without actually having to manually focus on that kind of thing.
If you think the creator economy is really interesting, then I got something for you. On milliondollarcreators.club, we actually created a database of all the creators out there, and you see not just their fans, followers, subscribers, but actually how much money are they making. So with that, we bring now transparency into the creator economy, and you really see how are the best of the best get their customers, price their offers, create their offer stack, get customers, which tools are they using, how will they grow and triple their business going forward. So if that's interesting for you, including lists of who makes the most revenue, who has the fastest revenue growth, who has the biggest audience, who has the fastest growing audience, who makes the most revenue per follower, and who has the most exciting offer stack from low end all the way to the high end. Then go to milliondollarcreators.club and enjoy the data. I think one thing to add for the awareness stage where you said like Instagram, Clubhouse, and so on, I think what is interesting here is when you zoom out, then you realize actually that all these social media platforms, there are marketplaces where a lot of people are, they compete for attention, and you get then fans, followers, subscribers. And the idea is actually that ultimately you want to sell off that platform and get people into your own world where you have full control, and you can also get essentially almost all of the revenue, because on these marketplaces usually they take, if you sell there, up to half of the revenue. And also second, there still your customers would still be where all the noise is. So when they consume something, there is, because it's based on algorithms, you have recommendations on the right, and other videos here and other creators over there, because these platforms have the interest to increase the watch time of the audience as much as possible. And that doesn't necessarily mean your watch time of yourself, right? So you have an interest to take them away from the noise. And for that reason, awareness happens on marketplaces like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. And there will be more come and more go. But it's always like that's where you create the eyeballs, and then you take them over to your own world, away from the noise, where you have everything under full control.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. You do want to, that's what I mean by your own ecosystem, and your app and the community in your app is a big part of that ecosystem. That's kind of the end goal where we put people there. This allows you to contact them directly, to send them push notifications through the community, and to upsell them or cross sell them even. But more importantly, to also have conversations with them without all that noise.
Yes, and also, like this control thing, just to stress what that actually means. Let's say you have even 100,000 followers, you don't have a single email address, and if something happens to the platform, or they ban your account or whatever, everything is just gone, right? So um, control means you actually own the customer, and you can decide on your terms what to do, what to offer, what to show, what to promote, and what experience your customers should get. And so if you want to have a real asset which is bigger than the marketplaces, the platforms, then you would always create uh, your own branded platform where you direct customers or prospects towards.
Absolutely. Yeah. Couldn't agree with you more. And that's what we try to do in the Passion Plus program with our creators. Speaking of which, I think maybe we can go over some examples, or do we have a few more questions to answer before we do?
I think one thing, because you touched upon passion, right? And what I like really about passion is that um, these marketplaces, Instagram, TikTok, and so on, they were built for the mobile world, because we have almost 8 billion people being addicted or being on smartphones, and they're all on the phone all the time, right? So if you have something which is mobile first, where you keep them on their device and you make it as seamless as possible to take them into your own world on the device that they're using, and then making them engage, consume, whatever on that same device. And it was built for that exact purpose. I think that's something where Passion is a really nice solution, because it's catered for mobile.
Yeah, yeah, I can agree with you there. Think that most online activity these days is done on people's phones, and that's just going to continue to increase, right? Unless you're like us and constantly working on our desktop devices. Even then, I do a lot of work on my phone, so it can be a great place to be able to contact your customers. Yeah, and I think that our creators do that really well.
Yes, 100%. Think WhatsApp, right? Like I started using it, or Messenger. I use that on the phone predominantly. Then there's also now the desktop version, which I also sometimes use if I'm sitting for a long time at a big screen. But still, like when I am out and about, or just somewhere commuting, somewhere else in the house, right? Sending a quick message, I would always do it on the phone predominantly because it's like right now in my head and I want to get it out. So I use the phone. And I think in the old web world, you would always have to go to a computer to open up a browser, to sign in, to do things. And in today's world, you just don't. You just tap on the app. You do what you want to do, give someone access, send someone a link, um, write whatever it is, send a message, and then it's done. And you don't need to do any of these cumbersome old web flows.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that is just a good example of how far we've come in the last just 2 or 3 years alone. How people have moved from desktop activities to the phone activities, and you see that a lot in what our creators are providing for their users. Excuse me. And how often people stay engaged with the content that is on those apps, whether it's fitness or some form of therapy, or even how to maintain a dental office. There's a big range of content that people can consume and often stay engaged with, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. So I think that there are a lot of good opportunities for anybody to have an app if they have something that they want to sell.
Agree. Good. Let's talk about best practices.
Yeah, let's do that. So in terms of best practices, I think it's a good idea to show examples. And I'm going to show two examples, one from a creator named Kat, who has a brand called Fit Body with Kat, and another creator named Jojo, who has a brand called Soul Sanctuary. Now, Fit Body with Kat, she does fitness, and Soul Sanctuary with Jojo, she does a form of self care, and both are successful in their own rights, and both practice the best practices well. So let's just start with a basic example with Kat, and I'll share my screen, and then we'll talk about the tools that Kat uses in this basic example to help scale her activities. And then we'll go on to JoJo, and we'll kind of just do a brief overview of her setup. Great. Okay. So this is Kat's landing page. Now, Kat does a few things different depending on the time of year. Right now, she isn't running a strict sales funnel, but she still has everything set up. So it's a good example to show. First, if we start with her Instagram, we will see that she makes regular posts about content and particular problems to solve, but which is best practice number one. If you're on social media, uh, do make some sort of regular posts. It doesn't have to be every day per se. Likely, it shouldn't be every day, depending on how these algorithms are run these days. But periodically, you want to stay engaged with people who are following you. And she has up here, she has her link plus some more. So she has app downloads for iOS and Google, but what's more important right now is Fit Body with Kat, which is her landing page. And so if we click on her landing page, we'll go back here where she has information about the product she's selling. It's very specific communication. It's well put together, well designed, and it's short. It's concise. That's another best practice. Be very concise, or try to be as concise as you can. Short and sweet and to the point. Um, Putting in flowery language just confuses people oftentimes. So she's very much to the point. And down here, she sells her subscriptions, which we can click on choose your plan, and you can use an external checkout to purchase this subscription, which then creates an account for the user and in her app, and then sends that user an email with their temporary password, congratulating them on their purchase and asking them to change their temporary password.
Right. So that tool was actually, that page was built with some tool, And then once someone makes a purchase there, then it's actually connected on the back end through Zapier likely with Passion, and then people get automatically access post purchase. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. So I can show you a little bit of that now, and so this would be her basic funnel. Now, during vacation times, which is different depending on where you are. For in Germany, for instance, where we live, uh, vacation time tends to be around like August or September for a lot of people. And Kat, has a specific sales funnel with a vacation challenge that she sets up. And so if we go to her Zapier account, she has a very basic, it's two-step. You can do this with a free Zapier account, very basic Zap that when people sign up for this free vacation challenge on her app or on her web app, whichever, it will automatically add or update the subscriber in MailChimp. And what it's going to do in MailChimp is it's going to add a tag. And we talked last time about MailChimp and adding tags. And in this case, the vacation challenge tag. So if we go to her MailChimp, we can see how she uses that. And in this case, she has the beginning of a journey, a customer journey. And when the contact is tagged, so the email is tagged with the vacation challenge tag, they get an email, which then will loop back into her funnel. So you can see last time she ran it, she had 7 emails sent and 85% of them were opened, which is a pretty high open rate. So this would be a very basic sales funnel, or I should say the start of a very basic sales funnel, because after these moments, they're in her app's ecosystem, and now her job in her app is to start that conversation. So she's been through the stages of awareness, consideration, and conversation. Yeah. Oh, 1 second. My notes are a little bit funny here. Yeah. So in conversation, right? So she's started this conversation by giving them free content and bringing them into her ecosystem, and now she's driving them toward conversion by signing up for one of her programs. You can sign up for a program through her app or on her website, either way. And so this would be a good practice, is to get people into a system that you have control over, so you can then communicate freely and easily with them. And she's also kind of skipping the conversion step for later, and she's building that community early on. So she's getting a head start, which I think is a good idea. All right, so that's Kat and the beginning of her sales funnel, and kind of the description of how she practices it in her app. Yeah, let me see if I can click on it, maybe get some more details. View email. Mm-hmm. So what she's sending is access to the free content, right? So welcome to the Fit Body Challenge. Once people sign up for this challenge, the challenge includes these things, and download the app today. So people can enter the challenge from a few different means. So if they don't already have the app downloaded, then this encourages them to do that.
Right. So she sells on the web in order to save the 15 to 30% App Store commissions. And then the email that she sends out is, hey, now you can get the app. People then log into the app and they will already have access because of the connection that she has built on the backend between her sales page and Passion through Zapier. Is that correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm. And one of the fun things about this too is that Passion apps have something called deep linking enabled. So if I am one of Kat's customers and I open this email on my phone, this link here take me to the vacation challenge. If you can, you might not be able to see it. No, you can't. Let's just click on it, see where it takes us. It will take us to her web app. And Passion apps, if you already have this app downloaded on your phone, it just opens it. It doesn't open a new browser window. It doesn't go online. It just opens the app directly. So it's really useful stuff, especially if you're driving people towards specific pages like a community or something in your app. Good. Okay. So she's starting that conversation. She's getting people involved in the community, and she's really driving a conversion once they get into this content. So in a way, she's doing some content marketing, which is great. Now, the next person is Jojo, and Jojo has recently launched a new product, part of her something called the Soul Awakening program. And so this is her Instagram, and you can see here that she's also posting regularly, and or frequently. It's probably easier for me to say, and and then um, and then she has a link tree here in her Instagram bio. And if you click her link tree, she's got plenty of different things to work on. So she is doing a lot, but what she's recently pushed in a lot of her posts, including her stories. Um, by the way, a best practice is to really build um, awareness through stories, because people are going to view stories much more often than they're going to view your uh, feed posts in Instagram. So that's a powerful place to do it. And what you want to do, which is what Jojo is doing, is you want to drive DMs, so direct messages. So make a post, a story, tell people about some problem you're solving, and then ask them to either leave a comment if it's a feed post, or to message you directly to find out how to do it and how to do whatever it is you're trying to solve. And that's when Jojo is going to start the conversation with her users and potential customers, and she's going to get them to sign up for a call. So once they start that conversation, she can skip this page altogether. But if they decide to click on it themselves, they'll be brought here to the landing page for the specific product. So this is what Kat was missing in her example, because Kat does it seasonally, while Jojo's doing it right now. So she has a new Soul Awakening program, and the very first link up here is to book a call with me, and she's going to use Calendly to do that. So this is a great way to drive that conversation, right? She's asking people, she's likely building a relationship with her users in the DMs, listening to their problems, responding to them with care, and getting them to book a call on Calendly so they can find out whether or not they're right for the product. And, not everyone is right for this service, and that's okay. It's better to find out and help potential customers, even if they're not going to be customers, I think. And then it's got some information here in case somebody's not convinced to sign up for a call. And we come back down here and it asks to book a call again. So I think the whole point of this particular step is to really drive the sign up for the conversation, for the discovery call. Once people are on a call with Jojo, they'll quickly learn that that either the product is right or wrong for them, and ideally they will end up signing up for a call. Now you can see the dates here are well past, and I can tell you she sold all 10 spots, and she made a good amount of revenue for this particular program. So this was a very effective method for her. She's got some testimonials. Another best practice: testimonials. Testimonials are great because people want, if they're looking for a reason to invest in your service, they're going to find a reason to do it. So better to have testimonials from real people in your communications to help drive that conversion as well.
The copy that you've just shown, right, was she opened applications May 27, and then she started selling like June 10th or whatever. So let's say she does another promotion, another cohort, another challenge, another launch, whatever. Is there a difference between you now sell and before you collect leads? Is there like a lead funnel? Is there a sales funnel? How do they differ? And that maybe also sparks the question of how important is an email list?
The answer is it's incredibly important. Um, One of the benefits that Jojo has is that part of her email list, a good chunk of them, were previous customers. And if previous customers are still with you and still on your mailing list, they're the most likely to continue to pay for the services and the value that you provide. So, an email list is incredibly important. Um, what's the difference between a lead funnel and a sales funnel? A lead funnel is something that kind of lives in your ecosystem. So it's quite passive as far as you as a creator would be concerned. You set it up to drive a collection of emails and potential customers. And that's often in the form of like a newsletter or maybe some free content and some kind of white paper. It's similar in fashion to what Kat was doing. Which would be to collect emails and then give some free content in return. Uh, that can be something that just lives in your ecosystem for permanently if you want it to, and you don't really need to pay too much mind to it because it's going to be added. That contact information will be added to your CRM, ideally with the appropriate tags and whatnot, and then enter the customer journeys, the automated journeys that you saw on Mailchimp, so they can be nurtured and then driven to a conversion or driven to sign up for a discovery call of some fashion. So it's kind of a passive event. A sales funnel is something that Jojo is doing, for instance, where you are selling one specific product, maybe even for a specific time frame, and you only have limited spots, perhaps. This would be a sales funnel because you're communicating about the one product and you're just trying to drive sales for that one product. So I hope that answers your question. What's the difference between lead generation and a sales funnel? And then how important is a mailing list?
Thank you so much for showing that, Mark.